Wow. That is like a really expensive car. I would hate to drive a convertible. I don't see the point of having a convertible because it's kind of like, there's no one driving that one. Bizarre. It's funny this week, this is quite the lifestyle, and it's funny this week because this week our esteemed leader, the idiot, or as I like to call him, the cockhead, has no one checked what that dude says? Is he just going to go out into public and just go, I'm going to actually have a go at Indigenous people this week? It's like he got bored, you know, because it seems like, you know, I thought he had actually had a good sledging out there of, you know, most of the kind of disadvantaged, you know, people in the community, the people that are doing it the toughest. He had to go at the elderly, the disabled, and of course young people, and people on the dole, of course, because it's easy to hate them. And now, because he's not, you know, he hasn't shaked out enough coins out of the pockets of the poor. So now he's having to go at Indigenous people living in the remotest locations in the country with his comment last week about Indigenous lifestyle choices, that we're not going to support these lifestyle choices. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, this is, it's not like that show like Lifestyles of the Poor and Black. I mean, these people in these very remote communities are living in some pretty tough places. I don't think Tone would survive out there for 5 minutes. And what does he call a lifestyle choice? Like it's an idea of a choice that it's, you know, also and it's a lifestyle choice. Not a choice made because you might have connection to family or connection to land, but it's a lifestyle choice because you choose to live there. That's your lifestyle. You want to live in a remote community without a tap. That is how you choose to live. And by saying we can't afford it, he's basically saying he's going to cut off all those privileges those very, very exorbitant black fellas are actually, you know, taking from the white fellas in the community. There's a terrible amount of excess that they're living in by cutting back education and health, which I was going, that is, I don't know, it just sounds terrible. Like, that is so wrong. Like, who decides where people live? I mean, how come, and why suddenly do we as white fellas get the chance to, or the, you know, the privilege, or even the right to decide where people live, where, you know, where Indigenous people might live? People can live where they want to live. You can't just end up going and saying, no, we wouldn't live there. So that's a why are you living there? That is just a lifestyle choice, living out there in that desert community, living out there. I mean, he's an idiot. And of course, I mean, when you're talking about like this is lifestyle choices, isn't it? When you're talking about, we're not talking about cocaine and, you know, yachts and kind of, you know, big trips overseas to 5-star hotels here. We're talking about people just living and having basic human rights of education for their children and some health care in some of Australia's most remote locations that, you know, quite possibly have very, very significant, you know, meaning to the people that are living there. I just think it's just quite outrageous. And of course, you know, I think, you know, the other cockhead, Malcolm Cockhead, he came out and he said, no, there's no way that you could call Tony racist because he spends 1 week a year living in an Indigenous community. And I mean, I bet he doesn't live out in the more remote ones. I bet he has a very nice time. I bet he's got a tap and a bed and a toilet and somewhere to brush his teeth and a nice comfy bed. I bet he's not sleeping in a burned out car somewhere. I bet he's not. I bet he doesn't sleep. I bet he's not incarcerated for the week, or he's not sort of, you know, living, you know, without getting a full, you know, enough money to get food through the day. I think he's living in an Indigenous community as the Australian Prime Minister, thinking in 1 week that he's going to get this whole understanding of a 40,000 year plus culture in 1 week because he is super toned, because he is white. And he can understand black people because he lived with them for a week. Yeah, I know black people. I lived 1 week with them. That is probably the most profoundly racist thing I've heard as well. It's embarrassing. It makes it embarrassing to be, you know, to have him as Prime Minister. It is a constant state of embarrassment, I think. I think we really, really do. And this lifestyle choice, you know, you start thinking, well, what is, you know, kind of a lifestyle choice? I think there's a lot of lifestyle choices of other people that are impacting on our economy. It feels like we're trying to save money at the moment, looking at our deficit, and instead of looking at the top you know, kind of earners in our country that could be more heavily taxed, that could be, you know, get rid of the carbon tax, right? And then go and hassle remote indigenous communities. It's like going, you know, just like going to that, you know, when you've got to pay a bill and you go to that little kind of bucket where you keep your $2 and $1 and your 10-cent coins. But over there, there's a couple of $1,000. It's like going to pay it out of that. Like, it's going to show, it's little coins. You're never going to, it just seems wrong. I don't know. And I just think we've got so much to be sorry for when we said sorry to Indigenous communities, but it just seems there's this continual sorry train. Like, you have to keep saying sorry, you know, for one awful thing after another, like, you know, terrible things that we've done. This is just being another one of, it's like poisoning the water hole, isn't it? You turn off education and healthcare in a very remote community that's probably struggling anyway, and eventually people will leave, or they will die, or they'll become so depressed and desperate they'll be forced to leave somewhere else. Is that kind of against any human kind of law? I mean, that doesn't seem to have any compassion, or I don't know, it just seems to be like kind of illegal. And I was actually thinking, what's the chances of those areas in those communities that they're sitting on very, very big coal or iron ore or gas deposits? Wouldn't that be a funny coincidence? Now, you wouldn't believe it, would you, if that happened? Imagine if that happened, if they eventually, after 5 years, everyone moved. Oh, you wouldn't believe it, we didn't realise there's a giant iron ore deposit here. Silly us. Oh, well, it's ours now because all the black fellas left. It was their lifestyle choice. They chose to leave. We didn't ask them to leave. I think it's terrible. Anyway, if you're looking at lifestyle choice and actually saving some money, I think it's about time that politicians did something about their lifestyle choices. You know, maybe it should become a volunteer position done because you have a sense of obligation to your country and to the people in the country, and then you won't get careerists, you'll get people with a vision. So let's get rid of all that parliamentary privilege, all those pay rises, the 5-star hotels, and the endless conga line of fucking junkets that they all go on. And maybe we'll do something about our deficit. In the meantime, I think Tony should go and spend a year instead of a week living in one of these so-called lifestyle choice communities. He might end up being a nicer person.